All right, I have with me here Gordon Pennycook, who was the 2020 recipient of the Vincent DeLolo Early Career Award. So a couple things about Gordon before I ask him a few questions for those that don't know him. So he's a phenomenally productive researcher. I just checked his CV before we started chatting today, and he currently has amassed 80, that's 80 peer-reviewed publications. He's also a great friend, and I think if you ask anyone who's ever worked with him in the past, they say the same thing. Working with Gord, you not only gain an amazing collaborator, but also a good friend at the same time. And also, I hear he's a pretty decent hockey player. Although I've never witnessed this in person, I've heard it to be true. All right, well, thanks for meeting with me today, Gord. So we just have a couple questions
By
for
the way,
you.
the hockey player thing isn't true.
Oh, isn't? Okay.
No, not really. No, it's not really. It's only because we had the RA that saw me play hockey. It was not a good level of hockey. So
not a good level, but a level of hockey.
I think it was impressed. She was impressed relative to what she assumed my nerdiest level to be. So it was like impressive for someone who otherwise not very good.
All right. Well, but you play hockey.
It's true.
All right. So first off, Gord, I want you just to tell us a little bit about your journey. So what set you on this path?
Great question, John. So when I went to undergrad, I wanted to be a clinical psychologist because I thought I was good with helping people with their problems. And it turns out that like clinical psychologists help people that have actual problems, and that was way too scary for me. And so then I started getting interested in like why people were religious. Actually, was my first like psychological why did some people believe and some people didn't believe. And I found myself in a undergrad class at University of Saskatchewan. It was a research class, like a 300 level class, and we did some studies. And that was Jamie Campbell, Jamie Post Turner, and Aaron Metcalf at University of Saskatchewan.
Nice. And so Jamie, I know them both well myself.
Exactly, all the people. And so Jamie suggested that I apply for an NSERC Undergrad Summer Research Award. And because I was interested in like, thinking and all that kind of stuff, I stand up to do it with Valerie Thompson, who does research and reasoning, who of course and was your
my PhD supervisor.
Yeah. And so my application for the NSERC USRA actually was not accepted originally. It was rejected, and then somebody didn't take it, and then I got in, and that's when I got into the lab, and that's how I got interested in reasoning, and that's Val taught me how to do research, and that's how I found myself working with you in grad school, and that's why I'm here, basically.
Awesome. Well, that's an interesting story, and we do have that similar history in Val Thompson's laboratory at University of Saskatchewan, which is awesome. So next question I was going to ask you, if you had to pick a favorite paper of yours, and don't feel guilty if it's not one that we have together. I'm going to say that right off the bat. So what would it be and why?
I've been thinking about this, and I don't want to give away, but John gave me the questions in advance. But this is like one of those like a Letterman interview where like it seems like it's not scripted, but it is. Although we haven't talked about what my answers are going to be. So John does not know what I'm going to answer.
I don't know what you're going to say.
So I think it's the bullshit paper, John. And so there's a few reasons for this. So, and I'll explain what the paper is and whatever. But so going back to the last question a little bit, like what got me interested in research was I really wanted to understand when people make bad decisions, basically. And that's what kind of really got me into that. And not just bad decisions, but just what the nature of people's beliefs and all that kind of stuff. And so we did a paper in grad school. John is a co-author on this paper called On the Reception and Detection of Pseudo-Profound Bullshit. It was the first psychological paper on BS. And there's a few reasons why that's my favorite one. I think it's my most impressive paper, or like it's not the most highly cited one, or there are other ones that I could choose because whatever. But I like that one because we did it our own way. You know what I mean? Like we made our own path with that one, and it was kind of untrodden territory, kind of a controversial topic. But every element of that paper was our like encapsulation of the way that we were thinking about things, And then
it's funny you say that. And I know this is an interview with you and not with me, but if I had to pick my favorite paper, it would be that one as well too. Because I have to admit it kind of scared me a little bit doing it. And I think if I was to say something, and I think Derek Kohler, your co-supervisor, would agree with me sometimes, like, you pushed Derek and I to kind of, you definitely pushed our comfort zones with what we're studying and what we're doing. And that paper that was one of the ones, again, it kind of pushed a bit comfort zones, and it was really it was testing something that was different than we ever tested before.
Yeah.
And it was just how do we look at this? It was just really kind of clever, creative, and it ended up, kind of carving its own path, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and part of it too also is that, like,
yeah.
Part of the reason I like it is because although it does seem flashy because of subject matter, the paper itself really isn't. Like, it's a methodological paper. Like, if insofar as it's taught in like psych classes and stuff like that, and I've heard this a lot from other people, is that people teach it as a way to, like, validate scales, to, like, show you have some sort of idea conceptually, like this. We use this term bullshit all the time. How do we measure whether someone's actually receptive to bullshit? You need to, like, have an operational definition, and you need to figure out a way to measure that. And it's and I like that because it's very rigorous and it's not overstated. I don't think if you read it, there are, like, elements that are amusing or whatever, obviously, in there, and some tidbits. But I think, and one other thing I'll mention about this is that it didn't fly at big journals, despite the kind of, you might expect that it would because of the topic matter. Like, I think Psych Science rejected it, and I can't remember where else we took it.
I remember, I can't remember the place, but I remember
JPSB, I think JPSB rejected it too.
I remember it did try a couple places first.
But then I was like, and then so we took to judgment decision making. And John Barron, who's the editor there, I kind of saw it for what it was and appreciated it. And I like that it's kind of like it's, just it made it despite all of that, and we worked hard, and I'm just really proud of the paper.
Yeah, awesome. So final question here. So there's a lot of graduate students in the society that probably have aspirations to go the academic route. And I was just wondering, what advice would you give a graduate student who wants to pursue this academic career?
It's tough. It's tough to it's kind of like getting advice from a lottery winner. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, buy lots of tickets, I guess, and, like, hope for the best.
That's a great analogy, actually.
And so there's some selection bias there. Before I give advice, I would like to give kind of some context to how things worked out for me on the job market, just to, like, so people can get a sense of how that kind of thing goes and how lucky I got. So I could apply for both, cognitive jobs and social psych jobs. I got my PhD in cognitive psychology, but some of my research might consider be kind of social psychology. And I've never gotten an offer from a psych department, actually. And not that I've been trying recently, but that's just something that hasn't happened. I work at a business school in Saskatchewan, where I'm from. And I don't think I would have been hired if they didn't have two positions open at the time. Like, they had two positions open, and I'm technically in a human resources organizational behavior area, even though I have no expertise in that area at all. And they hired a traditional HR person, someone who kind of fits the prototype of what that would look like. And then they're like, well, let's take a flyer on this guy, we'll see, and so I got lucky, and that's how I got my job. And so, I think that's something that happens for a lot of people. You find the right spot, you put a lot of applications in, and then you kind of get lucky. Now, in terms of how to be productive and all that kind of stuff, I always, when I started grad school, I didn't need it to work. I mean, in the sense that, like, I knew I could be happy without making it work. I thought, what a great privilege it was to be able to do a job where you could just spend your time thinking about things, and, like, there are times where I would walk into the university and just be like, just feel exceptionally happy that I had the opportunity to do that, and so when I started, I said to myself, like, if it doesn't work out, that's fine. I can be a bee farmer. That's what I would probably do if I didn't make it in academia. I'd probably have, like, a honey farm or something, or be a laborer or whatever. and I would be okay with that. And so I just kind of gave it my best shot. And the way to make that like tangible is that like I found the things that I was passionate about, that I fell in love with the research, and so I didn't feel like I was ever overloaded that much, you know. But I mean, having said that, I did like keep regular hours. I only work 9 to 5. I don't really work weekends and like evenings and stuff like that. And so I make sure I have time for other things in my life, which is a very important thing to keep.
And I think it's yeah, like you did graduate school at the same time while raising a family.
Yeah, and I have 2 kids. Yeah, I had 2 kids in grad school, and so I wasn't going to make it the only thing, you know what I mean? And it wasn't it's not the encapsulation of my whole identity. It's the thing I care about, and I do. And so like
and you do it well, which is
thanks John. And so I think that's part of it. And so like, you know, and there's certain things you know, I give some practical tips also, which is like learn skills, like learn data analysis skills, and make sure you do that kind of thing. And writing is a very difficult thing to be good at, and so you got to practice and not try to get beaten down by the difficulty of the process. One other thing, this is I think the last thing I'll mention, is that I think you can back me up on this, is that I don't get beaten down in the review process. In fact, often I would enjoy taking on some, you know, difficult reviews to like show how they're wrong and the editor should accept the paper anyways, you know. And so that
that's a huge thing, I think, for a lot of people, is not take, like, we all get really tough reviews, and not to be broken by them. And it's something I always kind of noted about you as a graduate student. You would like, you take the bull by the horns. The reviews would come in and be like, you know, you dig right in, and you tackle them right away, and you take the challenge, and you'd enjoy the challenge. And that's like such an important part of this you know, this job.
Yeah, and I think part of it also is that you have to separate yourself from the data that you produce. You know what I mean? I have like a commentary in Beaver Brain Sciences about this, which is called "You Are Not Your Data,"
right?
Where like I mean, it's I view science as a kind of ongoing conversation. You know what I mean? And so it's just fun to be a part of it. And you know, ultimately, I think we take ourselves a bit too seriously, and so I think it moves us to be a little bit more down to earth with ourselves about that kind of thing.
No, I think that's really important, and that's really helpful. I think that's kind of helpful, I think, message, I think, to students kind of coming up in this field as well too, is that it's really, you like enjoying the process and loving the process that you're doing, without always having that end goal, that you know, that faculty position end goal, that kind of enjoy what you're doing now, and those things will hopefully kind of fall out of that, you know, if you kind of, you know, keep the nose to the grindstone, and just and while enjoying it while you do it.
Yeah, you can't only do it for the reinforcement, because it doesn't come very often.
That's right. Yeah, no, that's true. Well, that's really helpful, Gordon. I really appreciated chatting with you today, and it's always nice to catch up.
Yeah, thanks, John.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you again soon.
All right. See ya.
All right.